You don't earn. You don't contribute. You're just extra weight. That's what they said. Not strangers. Not critics online. Family. And sometimes criticism from outsiders hurts. But disrespect from inside the house? That changes you. What they didn't realize was this. When you call someone a burden long enough, you might just train them to become unstoppable. This story isn't just about family conflict. It's about identity, economics, and self-worth. Across cultures, especially in family-run businesses and traditional households, value is often measured by income. If you're not earning, you're dependent. If your work is invisible, it's insignificant. If you're building quietly, it's nothing. But what happens when someone underestimated inside the family decides to compete? Outside it, today's story explores business rivalry, emotional resilience, financial independence, and strategic growth, all born from one painful label: burden. And by the end, you'll see how sometimes the greatest competition isn't created in boardrooms. It's created at the dinner table. When Sarah got married into the Rahman family, she entered a well-established household. They owned a regional home decor wholesale business. Profitable, stable, traditional. Sarah had a degree in digital marketing. But after marriage, she stepped back from her career to adjust to the new environment. In the beginning, everything was polite. Then the comments started. She studied so much, but what's the use now? Our son handles the business. That's real work. You should focus on the house. That's your responsibility. At first, she ignored it. Until one evening, during a financial discussion, her father-in-law said, "We carry all the expenses. You don't contribute. You're a burden on this system." Silence. Her husband didn't agree. But he didn't object either. And that silence echoed louder than the insult. Here's where most people react emotionally. Argue, cry, withdraw. Sarah did something different. She observed. The family business was successful, but outdated. No online presence. No e-commerce platform. No branding strategy. No customer data tracking. They relied on bulk orders and word-of-mouth relationships built over decades. Stable, but fragile. Meanwhile, the market was shifting. Customers were moving online. Smaller retailers wanted direct sourcing. Home decor trends were spreading through social media. She saw something powerful. They weren't dominant. They were comfortable. And comfort creates blind spots. Instead of demanding involvement in their business, she started her own. With savings from wedding gifts and small freelance projects, she launched an online home decor brand. But she didn't replicate their wholesale model. She built a direct-to-consumer brand. Modern branding, minimalist packaging, strong social media storytelling, influencer collaborations, customer review highlights. Her advantage wasn't capital. It was understanding digital behavior. She researched trending designs, analyzed search data, tested small ad campaigns. At first, orders were slow. 5 per week, then 10, then 20. She handled customer service herself. She packed products herself. She tracked repeat purchase rates. She studied every complaint carefully. Because competition isn't won through anger, it's won through information. 6 months later, something shifted. One of her product reels went viral. Not millions of views, but enough to trigger consistent daily orders. Customers loved the personalization options. They appreciated transparent pricing. And they trusted the brand voice because it felt human. Revenue crossed the amount her in-laws once called impossible for online businesses. Ironically, some retailers who previously bought from the family wholesale business began contacting her for partnerships. Why? Because customers were asking for her brand specifically. Market demand had shifted, and she had positioned herself where attention was growing. The first time her father-in-law saw her brand featured in a local business article, he dismissed it. Online trends fade. But when their wholesale orders started slowing, concern replaced dismissal. Retailers were testing smaller, trend-driven suppliers. Exactly her model. At a family gathering, someone mentioned her growing success. The same room that once labeled her a burden now asked questions. How are you managing logistics? Where are you sourcing materials? What's your monthly revenue? The tone had changed. Not affectionate. Respectful. But here's the key. She didn't mock them. She didn't reference the past insult. She answered professionally. Because once you let success speak, you don't need sarcasm. Within 3 years, her company scaled beyond the local market. She invested in warehousing automation, partnered with regional artisans, expanded into international shipping. Meanwhile, the family wholesale model struggled to adapt. Bulk buyers were declining. Digital native competitors were increasing. One day, her husband came home with news. The family business wanted to collaborate. Not out of charity, out of necessity. She reviewed their proposal carefully. This wasn't about revenge. It was about leverage. Instead of merging, she negotiated supplier agreements on her terms. Clear profit margins, data transparency, modern marketing integration. For the first time, she wasn't entering as family. She was entering as a market leader. This story isn't about defeating in-laws. It's about redefining value. When someone calls you a burden, they're often measuring you using outdated metrics, income type, visibility, traditional roles. But markets evolve, skills evolve, power evolves. The difference between burden and competitor. Strategy. Instead of trying to fit into a system that undervalued her, she built one that rewarded her strengths. That's a universal lesson. In education, if one institution rejects you, you find another path. In corporate life, if one company underestimates you, you develop specialized expertise. In content creation, if one platform limits reach, you diversify. Rejection isn't always a door closing. Sometimes it's data telling you where not to stand. Let me ask you, have you ever been labeled unfairly? Lazy, dependent, inexperienced, replaceable? Did you try to defend yourself? Or did you improve yourself? Because defending your worth is exhausting. Building it is empowering. They called her a burden. But burdens don't build brands. Burdens don't analyze markets. Burdens don't create demand. She didn't win by arguing at the dinner table. She won by understanding the marketplace. And when she became their biggest competition, it wasn't revenge. It was evolution. Because in the end, the most powerful response to disrespect is undeniable value. And once value becomes visible, even the loudest critics fall silent.